everyone, this is Mr. Everything, and today I wanted to revisit one more time the Xbox 360. Believe it or not, last time I did this was 2020, and I had done a revisit of it, and I want to try it again. I can't believe 4 years have gone by so quickly, and the world's so much different in just those few 4 years. But one thing that stayed the same is the 360. So here's the original controller. This is usually kept in an ottoman, so it's clean. I haven't used it much. And this I got this in 2012. It's not my original 360. I had the silver. I think it might have been called the Pro or the something. It was the silver tray, white one. Had Red Ring of Death twice and got rid of it. And then I don't know if I had any others in the meantime, but then I got this one. Minimal use. It's basically been here since 2012. So it's in great shape. Now, with that being said, in that last video I showed more of the exterior of it. I mean, if there's a big interest, I can do some more videos on it. But today, what I really want to do, I just want to boot it up. I probably haven't turned it on in years. I want to see if it updates. I want to see what it does and take you along for the ride. It is hooked up via HDMI. It's native HDMI, and it's going into my 4K Samsung TV, but it should have no problem with upscalers and stuff, so hopefully it'll look just fine. I mean, this is still modern tech in terms of displays with HDMI, so I think it's going to look just fine on screen. And I think the last thing I'll mention, though, think about what would you prefer, going through the year 2020 and beyond, or going through the year, 2006, 7, and having the Red Ring of Death? What was more traumatic? I think these were the more simple times when this was as bad as your life got, was that Red Ring of Death. Now, I think I have it plugged in. I'm not sure what I want to do. I want to boot it up now, or do I want to show the screen? Because I think the last time I updated, I had all kind of problems because you have to sign in, but I don't think you can sign in on here because of two-factor. So I think you got to migrate over to your web browser and do it. And then I have a new router and Wi-Fi, so I'm going to have to reconfigure everything. So I'm not exactly sure how I want to go about it. I probably won't show every little detail, but I just want to turn it on and see what happens to show you how it works in case you have one laying around. And then just to mention, on this little shelf here, I also have the original PS3 FAT. It's not like the first gen. I think it's the 80 gigabyte gen that came with the DualShock controller, but it's no longer backward compatible, and it's not the software backward compatible either. So there's no chrome trim, that door doesn't open, and it's just two USB ports. That one I got used in 2010, but I haven't used it too much. I have booted that more recently, but I've had no issues with it, so that's some great longevity there. But this is kind of one of the retro shelves, and I do have the GameCube there too, which I just covered that in the PS2 last year. I think I'm just gonna, hopefully I got the right plug, yep. So you can see, and I'm curious to see if I have anything in it. I don't. So I will switch back now to the screen and see where we're at. Hopefully the controller works. Now, hopefully I won't have any issues with the controller. I put 2 fresh batteries in it. I don't have the Play and Charge kit anymore. I do have it for the Xbox One, but not the 360 one. I used to have it, but that was so long ago I got rid of it. I remember the last time I did this, I kept having the controller disconnect, so I don't know if it was just faulty batteries or what. But basically, once I changed shots, this was what I was at. So it did just kind of boot right up here. It's probably because I'm not connected to the internet. Otherwise, it probably would have given me a prompt to go ahead and sign in or update or something. So I'm going to go over, and I'll probably have to reconfigure the Wi-Fi as well. Yeah, it's not like way out of date, but my gamer score is like 43,000 now. So it definitely hasn't been booted up for a few years. Yeah, I don't even have that router anymore. Well, I do, but I don't use it. There we go. So I'll go ahead and see if this will work, which hopefully it will. So it does recognize a modern router. Now the original one didn't even have the Wi-Fi. You had to use Ethernet or get that additional adapter. Maybe I spoke too soon. So I'm connecting to the router, but maybe not to the internet. So I'll have to do a little more research here. So unfortunately, I'm trying to get this connected, and I've had trouble. Now I have a T-Mobile home internet, so I'm wondering if somehow, just due to the network or the DNS settings or something, that's causing an issue. I have no issue on my Xbox Series X. I don't think I had any issues even on my PS3, because I think I've used the PS3 on this internet. So I thought maybe it was the 5 gigahertz network. I went ahead and turned that off and did 2.4 gigahertz only. Again, same thing, it recognized that it connected, but it says no internet. So then I figured, well, let me just plug directly in to the gateway. And again, I'm connected to the network, but I can't get connected to the internet. Unless Xbox Live's down on the 360, which I'm assuming it's not, because I mean, the Series X is backward compatible of 360 games. So I would imagine that the 360 network is still online. So you can see here I'm still having trouble. To bypass that, I might just try using my phone as a hotspot and see what happens. Okay, so everything I just showed, I was doing this in real time. Uh, it appears that it actually had nothing to do with my gateway, with my internet. It had to do with being able to sign in. So again, as I showed on camera, it finds my gateway, it connects to it, it just doesn't show the internet. So then I assumed that there was something wrong with it, so I went with Ethernet. When that didn't work, then I wondered really what it was, because it should have worked with Ethernet. What I did off camera was I connected to my phone's hotspot. Now the phone's a 15 Pro Max, so it probably has 6E. Whether the hotspot broadcasts in 6E, I would imagine it does, because that's what the antenna is. But I started to wonder, so I looked up a little bit on YouTube, and a lot of people are saying use Ethernet, and then they're saying the issue's not connecting to Xbox Live, it's signing in. And they say, like, as long as you connect to the network, even if it says you're not connected to Xbox Live, if you go to like your Netflix app or you go into your apps, if they connect, then you know you're connected to the internet. So what I did was I went to my Internet Explorer, and it said you can't use Internet Explorer unless you sign in, which is weird. But so I tried to sign in, and then once it let me sign in, it let me put my email in. Then I was thinking, well, I think I am connected to the internet because I'm not signed in. It's not letting me connect to Xbox Live. It's really not letting the console even go to the internet, but it does have an internet connection, if that makes sense. And I tried putting in my email and password, and it didn't work. And then, as I did alluded to at the beginning of the video, this same thing happened to me in 2020 because this old console, they can't understand new security codes. They can't understand two-factor authentication. And sure enough, I checked my email. So this is how it worked for me. It might be different for everyone. I have an account that I use, my Xbox Live account. I still use it's a common email I have. So I looked, and it was in my email. It said, we saw you tried to connect with your 360. And then it said you have to create a app password. And I did that, which again, I remember doing that before. So once I did that, it signed me into Xbox Live. And you can see now I'm going to remember it. But I'm pretty sure in 2020 I hit remember as well. So let's just pick it up here. And let's see what happens now. So the really weird thing, though, is it didn't seem like my router was the issue. It's a T-Mobile gateway, so it's not the greatest thing ever, but I believe it's 6E. In the other YouTube videos I saw, people were saying it wasn't connecting to their router, but is theirs any more modern than a 6E router that I have? So I'm not sure. I went back to, it's not Starlink, it's T-Mobile. I named it that, but I connected to it, and you can see now I'm working. And I didn't think that Xbox 360 servers were shut down simply because it's backward compatible on the Series X, And you go to your friends, and when you're emulating more or less your 360 games, this shows up right here. So you still have a connection. So I was thinking, how can, this dashboard will literally show up on your Series X. So there has to be a server up still. And you can see my achievements synced, as I was talking about earlier. Let me just try this again. And you can see now everything works. I just want to test it again, so it's going to sign me out. Let's see what happens. Hopefully, since I hit remember, it'll work this time, but I'm just curious, maybe it's logging in through here. And this video is completely different than I thought. I would sign in, update, and then we'd be going. But you can see it does it all over again. So the issue is something to do within here. So you can't sign in with this. You have to do it from here. And I'm actually kind of glad that it signed me out, because I can just show you this again. So that took quite a while, but now it signed me back in. So for whatever reason, it must just be a fractured experience, because on the Series X, you're really going through the modern marketplace, or the store, however that works. But when you start a 360 game, you're kind of emulating, and you can look at your friends list. You can kind of, like, the store still exists because it's retrofitted for the Series X, but there must just be parts they've turned off or something. Maybe I'm just describing or understanding this wrong. But obviously the marketplace still has to exist, because you can still access all of these things from the Series X, your DLC and stuff. So let's see if I can find browse games. Let's see what happens. So FIFA 19. And one thing I'd like to say too, especially with the 360, and I had said it before, that it's kind of irrelevant, because the Xbox One and the Series consoles are backward compatible. FIFA might have just been removed off the store because Borderlands is showing up. Because again, you can still buy the DLC. There, not much of this seems to work, but they'll still take your money. You might not be able to do much on the 360, but they'll still let your payment go through, as it should. Yep, see right there, I can buy that if I want. And that's my payment method on the Series X and on Microsoft.com. So, not all of it's loading in, so it's a little finicky, but you can tell that it's still there. I'm probably going to pop in a game. I guess the only other thing I could mention is there's no update. The last time I updated it was 2020, so as far as I can tell, it didn't ask me to do an update. Seems like to me that the 360 is more or less not supported anymore, but because of the backward compatibility on the newer ones, it's still somewhat, but the actual access from the console is kind of finicky. Which again, if you want to play online, Call of Duties and stuff, those are mostly on backward compatible, so you could play them on the new consoles anyway. That's how I would recommend to do it. I really think the sweet spot for the 360 is games that aren't supported, that aren't backward compatible. I'm thinking older Maddens. I'm thinking if you like wrestling, the SmackDown versus Raw games. Obviously, there's a ton of games, but those are just a few off the top of my head that I know, unfortunately, aren't backward compatible, and you still kind of need that console to play them. But you wouldn't have to do any of this. You didn't have to sign in. You could have just played it offline. But for this, I wanted to just show that. And I really don't think there's too much else to show, because I'm really not too happy with how this is. I mean, it is working. I am signed in. I can see my 360 friends. It doesn't show the ones I added on the Xbox One and newer, but it's still showing my original 360 friends in the dashboard here. Last thing, let's just check the achievements, see if they load in. Now, I think at least how it used to be, yeah, it just says Xbox One games. And that was like that literally in 2013. It never was able to show individual Xbox One or newer titles. And interestingly, I'm actually playing Mass Effect 2 on the 360 via backward compatibility on the Series X. So that one is, I literally have just been playing it, and you can see it even shows the date up there. You can see even some of those go back to 2011. I just started trying it again just for the heck of it because I beat the Legendary Edition, and all these you can't even access them. So I'll pop in a game that's not backward compatible, and that's basically all you're getting out of this. So I would say if you want to try what I did to sign in, just to sign in, go ahead and try it. But if you can't sign in, don't worry about it. Just play your games anyway. You won't be able to play online. But again, most online games probably aren't even in existence anymore, minus the ones that already are backward compatible, like Call of Duty. Alright, so I guess the first part of the video and the most confusing part is over, which was simply trying to get the Xbox 360 back online, which it kind of is. I mean, if you've signed in the last 4 years, there's probably no new update. I signed in 2020, it updated, and it was a little bit hard to get it going, but now that I'm on, now I'm just going to put in a few games, and obviously they're going to work. And I wouldn't worry too much about it if you can't, if you're having some issue either with your router or with signing in, as long as you can still play your games. Okay, that's funny. This game actually needs an update, so you can see patches and stuff are evidently still available. I don't like that it signed me out because I'm wondering if it's gonna not sign me back in now. Yeah, so that's kind of unfortunate. Now I have to sign back in, and I wonder if it's going to work. So now I gotta go. So it's still finicky, but I will pause this and update and try and sign back in. All right, so I exited, went to the dashboard, and then signed back in, and it worked. So again, it doesn't seem to want to auto sign in, but when you do it through the dashboard here, it does work once you put in your app password and say to remember me. You don't have to type any of that in again. This is crazy. Like, as I mentioned what, Madden and SmackDown versus Raw. Well, I've probably shown those games before, so I decided, you know what, this is an unknown game. Probably most people don't even know that it exists. A very svelte Samoa Joe. Controller's still working. This is definitely making me feel like the 360 era. I thought I unlocked those people. I don't know, unless they're DLC. But I mean, I literally haven't played this game in probably 15 years. I don't know. Just go with, can't go wrong with Big Papa Pump. That was always awkward as a kid to have that show up on the screen. I mean, the graphics were actually really good for this game. I think that the TNA Impact graphics were better than any WWE game on the 360 or PS3. I really think, I mean, the game itself wasn't that good, but when you consider what you have here, I think it's a lot better looking than 2K15 and the ones on the 1 and PS4 are definitely way better looking than this. But beyond that, though, I think that was this game's strong suit, was the graphics. and I don't remember how to play it, so it probably won't be much more than the entrances. Actually, you know, it's funny. I actually think this play looks better than AEW Fight Forever, I think's what it's called. That game probably plays better than this one, but I really think that the graphics are actually better on this game than on Fight Forever. I could probably turn the volume back up as long as it's not playing any music. I don't know how to play it, I forgot, so I don't know how to reverse. Oh yeah, I think you gotta press a button to get up. There's a run button. So I think I got the reversal button figured out. And here's the run. Don't know how you interact with stuff. Maybe it's B. It's a B. I'm still missing horribly. But I mean, even through the viewfinder, actually maybe even a little better on the viewfinder, the graphics look really good. And again, this is the only way you can play this game. I mean, it's on the PS2. It's maybe on the PSP. I don't know. But yeah, it's probably on the PS3. But it's not backward compatible on any new console as far as I know. Yeah, I think in early TNA there weren't any disqualifications and like just a regular match. Like in these old Impact Zone days. I wish I knew how to grapple though. Maybe it's Y. The cover is the same as SmackDown vs. Raw. Finally got that to work. Don West is just going crazy on commentary right now. That's definitely a missed voice. Alright, well, I don't remember how to play it, so it's just going to be watching me fumble around. So I'm going to move on to the next game. But again, this is a strong suit of the 360. Playing a gem like that, which, I mean, it was a terrible game, but it's just cool to rewatch it. If anything, I actually ought to do some gameplay of this game, replay it and learn how to play it again. And maybe someone will be interested in that because you're not going to see too much content on it. And it's highly unlikely that TNA will ever make another video game when AEW is big as they are compared to anyone else, basically flopped with their game. And I think New Japan has the Fire Pro, but it's it's basically an arcade game. So aside from WWE, there's probably nobody else that's ever going to make a competitive game. And at least this was the closest I think anyone ever really got to making something on par with WWE, minus the old WCW games back in their day. But as Taz would say, but I digress. And another series that absolutely has to be mentioned is Guitar Hero, also Rock Band, but those were, the height of that generation of consoles. Tail end of the PS2 era, but all the way through 360, PS3. And I mean, there was a bit of a resurgence with Rock Band and Guitar Hero Live, I think. But as far as I know, they didn't catch on. You never hear about them. So they were such a good catalog on this generation on the 360. And as far as I know, none of them are backward compatible. And even if they were, which again I don't think they are, I highly doubt any of the instruments and stuff would hook up to the new consoles. So I have, and I know the wireless wouldn't. So I have the wireless guitar, which should just work natively with this 360. So that's great. I mean, I have, all the like Aerosmith, the rock band AC/DC, rock band the Beatles. I think I got rid of the Van Halen one, but you could always buy that one again. Metallica, all these games, in addition to Guitar Hero. I think 2 through 5 or 6 was on this generation, and then Rock Band probably 1 to 4 or 3 or 4. And there were so many songs and all the DLC, hundreds if not thousands of different Guitar Hero and Rock Band songs that you can basically only play on this generation. Now in the newer one, I think Rocksmith, but that's using a real guitar and it's more of a training tool than it is just a pick up and play type of game. But it's a shame, this was a really cool thing with cool peripherals, especially with Rock Band stuff that you'll probably never see again on these modern consoles. Not sure why I would need. Oh, what has? Okay, it must be because I don't have the guitar connected. As you can see, it's having the microphone next to my name, which is really weird. I usually, at least in the past, you could play Guitar Hero with your controller. And I'm not going to even get the guitar out because it might need sync to my TV because there's latency with the modern TVs, especially compared to the old ones. Now, I do have it in game mode. You can configure that in the settings. There should be something for calibrate lag right there. But for today, again, maybe I can do a Let's Play or something if for some reason people would even want to see that. But you can see Guitar Hero does work. And I'm sure if I did get my guitar out and put batteries in it, I'm sure it would work. Although I'm not sure why. You used to be able to play with your controller. It would just map the guitar buttons to your controller. And it wasn't ideal, but you could still at least play it. But that game does work. That's one of the advantages. That's why I wanted to really touch on. Can't do that with a backward compatible Series X or PS5. These games aren't available to play. So you have to have the original hardware to really enjoy it. And that's one thing, whether online works or not, you can at least still play these games. And for this video, the last game I'm going to show is a original Xbox title. Now on the Series S and X, probably the same with the Xbox One, there's a 360 back compatible, and there's also original Xbox games. There's not that many, but I mean a lot of the good ones, the Tom Clancy series, Black, some Star Wars. I can't think of any more right off the top of my head, but the 360 was backward compatible with a lot more Xbox games. There was also the Black first gen Xbox that was called the Elite, and I think it was backward compatible with all 360 or all original games, but I'm not completely sure. I'd never had that one. And even though it was a bit newer than the originals, it was still that first gen, which I wonder if they still could have potentially had Red Ring of Death issues. So I never really had any interest in picking that up. If you did have that one, though, you could probably play all original Xbox games. Now this is funny, like Project Gotham Racing for the original Xbox evidently still needed an update for the 360. But then the 360 also would have updates that would add to the backward compatible backlog of Xbox games. But I don't think the last time I booted up an original Xbox game was probably, 15 years ago. I highly doubt they were adding more at that point. So I'm not sure if that update was for the game itself or just one-off Xbox Live saying we have a newer update for when you go into the original backward compatible mode. I don't know. But you can see I'm probably signed out, but I guess it doesn't matter because there's no achievements, there's no Xbox Live compatibility with the original Xbox games, but they do work. And I can't skip any of this, I guess. I can't do anything on the guide, so I have to just be patient, which, I mean, this is 20 plus years ago, so this is how it was back then. You just had to sit through this and deal with it. But this is really cool though. Again, you can't do this on the Series X or anything. A lot of these old games they're not back compatible and they won't work in the disk drive or anything. So you need at least this 360 or again that Elite to play these. So it looks like, it looks like I have my save. I'm more curious about the demo so I can play other games. Oh, maybe not. I think I can understand that. If there's different code for other games on there, that might be why the game crashed. So I just went ahead and restarted the game. The only thing I can liken it to is I have like a legit demo disc that was on the 360. It came with a magazine. We're talking like 2005. And even on the 360 that was mostly backward compatible, that demo disc wouldn't work. So I'm thinking that there must be certain games that like it must only work with certain ones, and if it's other ones, there's no emulation for it or however it does it. So that might be why the game crashed. I think I can probably just play a game because this game is supported, but I guess evidently the demos aren't considered part of the game, if that makes any sense, which it probably doesn't. I mean, I don't even know what I'm selecting here. I mean, I don't know if I'm in a career mode. I thought I picked arcade because it didn't let me pick the car or anything. I'm just at the mercy of a old game. And with all this being said, I mean, like I said, I know I'm talking up playing these titles on the 360, but these games will easily run on an emulator. I don't know if it's Zemu or Xenia, the original Xbox emulator, but I have it on my Legion Go. And I mean, it runs the games better than this because you can upscale them. You can apply like, I'm not sure if it's anti-aliasing or androscopic filtering or whatever the setting is, but you can get rid of a lot of the aliasing. And I really don't know that much about emulation, so I was just kind of touching the surface, but it's probably more ideal to just play on an emulator at this point than it is to get the dust off your 360 to play an original Xbox title. But nonetheless, though, again, this is just for fun, see if this stuff even still works. I was trying to play it through aside from the viewfinder, because either way, it's hard to play through the viewfinder and it's hard to kind of look around the camera as well. So now and this is back when racing games, aside from Gran Turismo, were pretty much just straight arcade. So like you just instantly go into a drift, and I'm trying to just brake and do it properly, but you can't because they just want you to drift into every turn. So that was like everything back then was just more laid back and fun. It's just like crash into the guardrails and still finishing first, to where now it's just like you gotta take the perfect line and just do everything. So everything's so simulation and realistic based that I think video games have kind of changed what they were to just be over the top and fun, and now they're just too serious and corporate. They've become more of a job than a recreation, I think is the best way I can put it. I didn't expect to wax nostalgic while playing Project Gotham Racing on a Xbox 360 review. But I think I'll end that one here. And again, the guide doesn't do anything, but you can still exit to the dashboard. So I think that's all I have to show really for this video. I went over, the model, the 360 I have. I was able to just boot it up. It didn't have any issues. It works. It's not like there was anything broken on it. It uses HDMI, so it still hooks up to a modern TV with no issue. My controller worked. It's wireless, so I still have that advantage. So it's not too dated feeling. But it was kind of hard to sign in. A lot of the games, though, I can play them on the Xbox Series X. I don't have to worry about that. There's no weird issues like there was here. It did work with my newer gateway. I had it on the automatic where there's 5 gigahertz and 2.4. So if you had a 5 gigahertz only network, there's a chance maybe it wouldn't connect to that router. But this one, you can either pick 2.4, or if you have it on auto, maybe it automatically will just only connect to that one because it'll broadcast probably both. If you have a strictly a 5 gigahertz only network, then you might have to try changing it over to 2.4, or you can do what a lot of other people showed and just use an Ethernet cable. So again, my issue wasn't even the router. I was connected. It's just trying to get it signed in. So you have to go through that, create an app with the authenticator, and then once you can sign in, which again you really can't access much more. The store kind of works, but it's really not there that much. So it is up and running, but there's not a whole lot to do. The whole core of this is just being able to actually play those games. The ones that you can't get on the Series X, like Guitar Hero, like some of the original Xbox games, like a quirky game like TNA Impact that nobody's ever going to go out of their way to go buy and play and try. It's still fun if you add in your collection, something you'll never be able to play otherwise. So here we are, 2024, the 360. It's not as easy as it was in just 2020. The next time I revisit it, as crazy as the world is, I survived 2020. Bill Gates didn't get me. Hopefully he doesn't in the future, and I can come back in a few more years and do another update if it'll still even work at all. So thanks for watching. Sorry it was a little bit messy, but I wanted to show exactly because you're probably going to run into the exact same problems or maybe worse. So I just wanted to show it happen in real time, and I was able to get it up and running. So thanks for watching, and you'll see me in the next one. Have a good one.